people who quit their jobs on the first day. What was your "I'm outta here" moment?
I took a job at a lockdown residential treatment center as I was desperate for a job. The interviewer said most of the kids were court-ordered, and were a step away from juvie. The interview didn't go well, so I was honestly surprised when they called me to offer me the job. The morning of training was going over all of the state and federal laws that governed the place, like resident rights and staff-to-resident ratios and the like. The afternoon was a tour of the facility where it became readily apparent that none of the laws we just covered were being followed. I left at the end of the day and never came back. I had a feeling something bad was going to happen at that place. A few months later they got shut down after a riot that results in several serious injuries to both residents and staff. Glad I wasn't around for that.
A long time ago, not long after getting my papers as a chef, I had an interview at a hotel for a position in the kitchen. The executive chef and I chatted in his office for about 20 minutes. At the time I remember him coming off as very arrogant, which is quite common in this field. I didn't think much of it at the time as the pay was decent and the shift was what I wanted. As I was leaving his office I turned to leave through the dining room, which was closed at the time. It was another hour or so before service started, and he says to me, "No, not that way, go through the kitchen, you're not good enough to go through the dining room." I was so surprised by what he said, I just did what he asked without a word. Later on, after I had got home, I phoned him up and said that after having a close look I decided that his menu wasn't good enough and that I wouldn't be accepting his offer. Restaurant. Swept under my station when we were closing. Giant brown pile came out with broom from under low boy fridge. Pile began to scatter. It was hundreds of roaches. Never returned. On the first day of working at Amazon warehouse, the managers broke down to everyone how a 15-minute break works there. Walking to the break room is 2.5 minutes. 10 minutes of actual break and then 2.5 minutes to go back to your stations. It took me 2.5 minutes to walk to my car and I took a forever break.
I was 17 and working precast concrete. Refused to use a rusted-to-shirt ladder. Supervisor called me a pansy. He got up about 7 rungs before his foot went through one, heard his foot snap as he fell. I called an ambulance and walked to my car in the parking lot.
I was a waitress, the only waitress, at a just-opened diner. The boss didn't have me sign any paperwork. Everything was under the table. But that wasn't what made me quit at the end of the night. In order to get me where he wanted me to go, he would pinch my skirt at my upper thigh, not quite the butt but very close, and pull me around like it was a leash. Needed me in the kitchen? Rather than call me, he would come out, pinch my skirt and pull to the kitchen. Needed me at the cash machine? Again, come over to wherever I was, didn't matter if I was serving a customer, and would grab my skirt to pull me. That act in itself made some customers uncomfortable. Mind you, one couple left an almost 50% tip in the end. But I think it was more out of pity and embarrassment on my behalf. I was supposed to come in the next day, but I called that night and said the job wasn't for me. I came in a couple days later to turn in my apron and he just took a wad of cash out of his pocket and paid me then and there. God, he was creepy. I think it was a smart move to quit.
I answered an ad for a babysitting job. I was already working on a casual basis, but it was sporadic, so I thought some after-hours babysitting would be welcome extra cash. The couple were both in the military and proceeded to tell me that I would be staying in the spare room and looking after their 6-month-old child around the clock as well as doing the housework. I would have 1 day off every 2 weeks. They said it is cash in hand, so I could sign on to the dole to make up the rest of the money. I left on the spot. They wanted a live-in housemaid and nanny, not a babysitter, and they were not able to pay for one. Why they thought it was up to me to illegally collect the dole to subsidize them, I don't know.
Sushi restaurant who was being run by a 18-year-old entitled son. The other employees were hard-working Hispanics in the kitchen and old Asian ladies. Since I was close to his age, he immediately decided it'd be cool for him to confide in me. Right from the beginning of the lunch run he is cussing out the Hispanic cooks in the kitchen for food that is taking a minute too long, as well as yelling at the small Asian ladies scrambling around. trying to do their best. I knew this kid didn't have what it takes to be a manager or to be even a decent human being. Instead of taking my apron home with me, I put the apron in a locker and never came back.
It was a small independent insurance agency in 2006. My first day there, the owner said email and fax were strictly forbidden as he only believed in communication in person, by phone, or through mail. Left for lunch, and never went back. I couldn't imagine the inefficiency I'd have dealt with had I stayed. They ultimately closed their doors, so it was definitely the right decision.
Can't believe they even opened in the first place. My dad was always jumping on the latest technology to get business, and that was in the 80s. I can't imagine anyone thinking they can do person-to-person only in 2006. Sometimes you've just got to email.
Do you have any experiences similar to this? Please share it down in the comments below. Also, if you like this topic and want more videos like this, please let me know by hitting the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching.